kind of where the pecking order is. Paul?
All right, we'll take 2 calls and break and then wrap up the other calls. All right, let's go to Owen in Virginia on the U.S. caller line. Owen, thanks for your call.
Thank y'all for letting me on. This opening week was really good for the Big 12. They went 9-1. Unfortunately for all of us West Virginia fans, it's been of a downer week for us with that loss against Maryland. But, I just wanted to know, from y'all's perspective, how does this look for the Big 12? You go 9-1, almost undefeated in your opening week with, you're bringing in 4 new teams from, you're expanding 4 new teams possibly and sending out possible invitations this week. Does that look good for you on the national stage that, hey, we won just about every game we played this week?
Well, a lot of it is who you played. But I thought Texas's win against Louisiana was a nice win. I do. Iowa State beating Iowa would help.
Yeah.
They were 9-1 if you want to include the new 4 teams. They're 12-2. Because Houston blew the lead, 21-7 lead to Texas Tech, but you're playing each other, so someone has to win and lose.
I'd rather
that
be
game.
them this week than the ACC.
Yeah, I know.
The
Yeah,
ACC
you're right.
had a bad week.
They had a bad week, but that's something to take into consideration. Owen, thanks for the call.
Yeah, I don't know that people will really, celebrate that or mention that too much right off the top, other than like a passing note. But you see stack weeks on weeks, and you have a couple of teams like an Iowa State and Oklahoma, or even a Texas that emerges, and you have some it's all about having teams in the mix. The more teams that you can have in the mix, the more teams with winning records, the farther the season goes along, the more attention you're going to get. And so it was a nice start, really nice start. Even West Virginia's loss. I mean, I've got serious concerns about Jarrett Dagey. I just don't think that he's going to do much for them. I mean, I think we've kind of seen what we've seen. And outside of that, still have a defense that is pretty good. I think West Virginia will be fine. And that was a tough first opponent. I mean, on the road at Maryland, they got good little offense. So I know it was a tough loss, but I think the Mountaineers will be fine. And, yeah, Big 12 just keep stacking those wins week after week, and you'll start to get a little bit of play from the national media.
I'll get to some of the text. We'll go back to the
Texas wins this weekend. We'll start to hear a whole lot about Texas. I don't know about the rest of the Big 12, but we'll start hearing a whole lot about Texas.
Yeah, and I'm playing at Arkansas, and that's an old rivalry. They've played each other since the split of the SEC and the old Southwest Conference, and so that'll be interesting to watch that game in Fayetteville. Paul?
All right, Stephen from Virginia. Let's get the DMV. We'll clear those 2 calls out right back to back. You're on the BetUS caller line.
Hey, Paul, I think you got me, Stephen from Virginia, and I just want to say one thing about the broadcast, and the first thing is that ESPN getting exclusive rights to show that deal with the Big 12 now, and charging us extra and killing our conference, and then allowing the Texas State underclassmen to do the broadcast, and then take the blame for the terrible quality is not really part of the deal. I would have much rather watched that on Baylor Vision or on Fox Sports Southwest. And then the other thing is I got huge Rice 2019 vibes from that game the other night. The longer I thought about it, because they probably should have won it by more. They made a whole lot of mistakes, and if a couple different calls go their way, we're talking more about 34 or 41 to 17 or to 13. And what ended up being impressive is last year they could not run the football, and they had a terrible offensive line, and they didn't have an insurge of talent that would make you think that all of a sudden they got way better players. These players were coached much better. They came out and they executed on a team that was not as good as them. And that gives me a whole lot more optimism than before, especially when I didn't really have a lot of good feelings about teams like Oklahoma State and West Virginia. Definitely maybe a better year than I even thought after the game the other night. Love to hear what y'all think. Later, guys.
Stephen, thank you. You guys wrap that up with him.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that Rice game. I went and looked back at that box score. That was Baylor didn't score in the entire second half. They were up 21-6 and won 21-13. But yeah, I mean, I think that they're going to be fine in the long run. Some people were like, complaining about this or that, and I just looked at it as, yeah, you could have won by a lot more, and you should have won by a lot more. You learn from that, and you move on. The only thing that kept that from being like a 40-point win was stupid time penalties and a couple of mistakes, and that was it. But I thought the offense looked way better than it did last year at any point. I don't know about y'all, but I thought at least they looked like they had an idea of what they were doing. They knew what they were. there wasn't like a mass confusion. It was an early season game, and I thought they looked improved from last year.
I thought what made me realize how bad it was before is there was a false start late in the game, and it was that they weren't completely in control, but a tight end moved early, and that used to be about every drive.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that had, and I tell you what, Vic Valoria, strength and conditioning, they seemed like they didn't get worn down, horrible heat, whatever you want to say. It looked like they kind of were in control of their bodies when it comes to the strength and conditioning. Again, against a team that they should lean on and be able to beat up the way they did.
I think it's also impressive that they have a quarterback who can run like Gary Bohannon can, and they called, I think, one design quarterback run. Yeah, I mean, a
lot of bootlegs, a lot of that getting him outside the pocket.
But it wasn't. There wasn't a whole lot of like, all right, quarterback draw. It's the best thing we got. No, it was mostly Abram Smith and Treston Ebner,
which with their best fourth and short play was Charlie Brewer on a keeper. Previously.
No, yeah,
it
used to be.
That was their fourth down play.
Yeah. Hey, one quick note. I got the top 25. We'll match that up a little bit. We go back to your calls, back to the text, back to your chat. We had Tanner Mordecai on the show last week. SMU starting quarterback threw 7 touchdowns in their win against Abilene Christian. He was named to like 9 different national awards as the player of the week, including the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. He won that. That was announced today. Congratulations to the young man. He was good. Finally had an opportunity. He was behind Jalen Hurts and Spencer Rattler and others